The organic farmers' market in the German town of Valmont. Every Friday, growers from the surrounding region sell their fruit and vegetables straight from the fields. It's as organic as in eco-friendly supermarkets in the big city. The selection is limited, but it gives villagers the opportunity to stock up on fresh produce before the weekend. And it's a high point of the week in Valmont. It's followed by another tradition, the Friday bonfire. The strong turnout shows a healthy village life in a region otherwise characterized by a dwindling population.
Christian, coffee?
I'm on the road in the state of Brandenburg in eastern Germany. Many villages in the region are dying as more and more people move away. But Valmont is an exception. The village shows it's possible to buck the trend. People who were born and raised here are staying, and they're being joined by new arrivals. Valmont is located about 100 kilometers from Berlin, not far from the Polish border. Of the village's 300 residents, 70 are children. It's an unusual ratio for the region. So what's Valmont's secret? After the end of communism, things here weren't very different from other East German villages. Many people lost their jobs, moved away, and the kindergarten closed. Valmont seemed destined for decline. But then, 15 years ago, the first exiles fleeing big city life in Berlin discovered the village. And its cheaper houses, large plots, and room for creativity, imagination, and dreams. Like letting your kids grow up in the country. The urban transplants brought with them environmental consciousness and a willingness to get involved. They set up a volunteer association and renovated the kindergarten. Today is the Harvest Festival, and children from the kindergarten are decorating the village church. Inside, I meet the Klassen family. The father, Max, is a farmer. Their three sons are Paul Heinrich, Heinz Wilhelm, and mother Annika holds the baby Karl Friedrich. The family moved here from the western state of Schleswig-Holstein. Annika tells me they've lived here for 8 years, and they like it. I ask her what's different here. She says it's the beautiful countryside that makes the Uckermark region so special, the natural splendor. Then I ask about the people. She says the people are unique and that especially here in Valmont, they get along well. So a good mix of old and new. Annika says there are a lot of newcomers in Valmont, but they interact with the long-standing residents. She says it's a nice mix and they complement each other. But later I learned that this intermingling hasn't always been smooth and continues to cause friction for some locals. But here in the church, it's a harmonious atmosphere. The motto of the association credited with saving Valmont is "Life is sweet in the Uckermark region." I've got an appointment to meet the group's chairwoman, Sonja Pinto, to ask why this town is blossoming. Sonja says there's a magic formula. It's civic-minded residents combined with a large reserve of creativity and imagination. But what it really comes down to is involvement, and that's what comes together here. I'm going to meet up with Sonja again later, but first I want to get to know some of these creative people. And I don't have to go far. Right next door is a construction site. The builders are all members of the village association. As the children got older, a private school was set up. Now they're adding to it. This used to be a horse stable. Association member Frank Schröter says now they're turning it into a giant play space for the kindergarten. It's covered by a roof, so the kids will be able to run around a bit, even when it's raining.
Genau, es kann regnen, es ist trotzdem hell hier und die Kinder können sich auch im Regen halbwegs frei bewegen.
The school and the kindergarten are the biggest employers in the village. The architect's plans are all drawn up in cooperation with the village association. And that means with the builders. It's grassroots democracy, even if it isn't always easy. Frank says you always have an idea of what you want and you try to get as close to that ideal as possible. He says it all started with children's daycare groups that were first held in people's homes. Then they found a small room in the village and then a larger site. But still, it wasn't ideal. Once they finish this here, it'll be pretty close to perfect. Some of the girls are taking me to the town's community centre. It too used to be a stable. Today it's hosting a used clothes swap. The girls are having fun. But I'm a little perplexed. This isn't how I imagined life in the country. In fact, I feel like I'm in Berlin. The mothers look the same. Aren't there any natives here? I put the question to Village Association Chairwoman Sonja Pinto. She says it's pretty much only the newcomers who use the community centre. The long-standing residents, she says, seem reluctant to come here. It's a matter of feeling out of place. They have a mindset of being afraid or unsure of themselves. And somehow or other, we have to find ways of changing that. One place to start might be the village pub. Back in the time of communist East Germany, it was at the heart of community life. Today, schnitzel is on the menu. It's said to be a popular night for the locals. But none of them want to talk in front of the camera. The next morning I try again, this time in front of the village store. But I sense unease. The men here say they've had negative experiences with the media. This resident says there have been reports that the newcomers and the natives like him don't get along. He says that's not true and that words are always being turned around. Which is why he says he's not prepared to make statements. And that's the end of the conversation. The village store is called Konsum, just like the shops were back in communist East Germany. It's more than just a small grocery store. It's an institution that helps keep the town together. Nowadays, there are an equal number of local-born residents and those who have moved to Valmont. Many people come by every morning for a cup of freshly brewed coffee. Residents don't always make new friends here, but they do learn to respect one another. Ramona Fester has been running the store for 20 years. People in Valmont are lucky. Many people in other villages have to drive far for even basic groceries. Ramona even helps shoppers make sure they haven't forgotten anything on their list. This customer needs to go back for milk. The owner has to watch her inventory and expenses closely, with particular care not to order too many fresh products that will go bad quickly. Ramona says she just barely gets by from what she sells, but she's okay with that. She says she also benefits from not having to drive for groceries. So she's content with her situation. There aren't many alternatives. Jobs are few and far between in the economically depressed region. 1 in 6 is unemployed. For work, people have to move to the big city. Once you leave Valmont village limits, it becomes apparent the surrounding countryside isn't faring any better. Abandoned houses and deserted villages. It starts with businesses closing, then schools and doctors' offices. All that remains are ghost towns. And the rural exodus is forecast to continue. Analysts say Germany's villages are set to lose another 7% of their residents by 2030. Politicians speak of natural population decline. It's something that really gets on the nerves of Sonja Pinto from the Valmo Volunteer Association. She says she thinks it goes against nature. Country life doesn't mean uneducated or ignorant. She says you can't forget it's the countryside that's always fed the cities. And so politicians can't go saying we can let the countryside die out, and in the end we don't care.
Lassen wir doch das Land sterben, ist uns schlussendlich egal.
All of the special regional funds that get set up and then cancelled again are always just a drop in the bucket, she says. There's no clear commitment to a policy of saying rural areas are important and so are their living standards. And so let's work together to try and do something about it. Which is what people are doing in Valmo. That way the village survives. Friday afternoon and the bonfire gathering in front of the grocery store is in full swing. They're all here, young and old, the doers and the skeptics. These two locals say it's a nice chance for people to meet up and chat with one another. They say, where else do people come together like this in the open? In Italy, perhaps. Not just in Italy, also in Germany, in places like Valmo.